Good evening. Welcome to Kids Crochet Tutorials. My name is Kit, and this video for tonight is going to cover the different types of crochet hooks that you may actually find when deciding to start to crochet, and what you thought might be a rather basic, simple hobby to get into actually has a whole lot of specialty stuff, and it could possibly be a little overwhelming and confusing. So I'm going to today cover the different types of crochet hooks and their applications, and hopefully you will find this video to be informative. And again, I apologize for any background noise. My cats are going crazy because it's late at night while I am filming this, so you may hear a little bit going on. So let's go ahead and get started. So you've decided you want to learn how to crochet and you want to get a crochet hook, and then you go online and you find out that there are a ton of different types of hooks. You will find hooks that look like this, which is probably one of the most common type of crochet hooks that you will find in a craft store or Walmart. You may find hooks like this with a rubberized handle. These type of hooks with a more plasticky handle. Very expensive, fancy specialty hooks like these, full aluminum with a large handle, very long neck, and a very different looking hook head when compared to other style hooks. Extremely long crochet hooks that almost look like a knitting needle, but has a crochet hook on the end. And if you're familiar with knitting, crochet hooks that look like this, but have the same style cord that you find on corded circular knitting needles, or even hooks that are interchangeable with different style handles, such as this kit right here. This handle right here was actually a special ordered handle through a wood turning custom supply company called BWA Wood Turning. They made this handle, and the multicolored rainbow shade hooks originally came with this hook. And then there's this style handle with the matching purple hooks. And I'm going to move this before it runs away from me because that hook likes to roll everywhere. And you can see that between these two different types of hooks, they look very similar for the heads and the shape of the part that inserts into the handle. But this one has a very sharp, pointy, inline head, and then this one's more rounded. And this is actually two very specific style hooks. You can use either one in these handles by loosening and inserting and then tying it down. So you have these that go in here like this. You can tie that down. These are good for travel, so you can keep everything in one place. There's also cases that you can get for other style kinds of hooks. I've been crocheting for the better part of 30 years. So I have a lot of crochet hooks. I've tried a lot of different style crochet hooks. I have personal preferences on the types of hooks that I use. And so it can get very overwhelming when you're first starting out due to the number of specialty hooks on the market. So most people, when they first pick up crochet, will pick up something like this. They're very inexpensive. They're very cheap. Boy makes this style hook, which is called a tapered hook, and tapered hooks have more rounded heads. And then another company, now this is not this brand that I'm going to mention, but they make hooks that look like this, but with this style head, is called Susan Bates. And but they're rather inexpensive. They can run you anywhere between $3 to $6 per hook. And that's what most people start out with. And these are great to learn. However, once you get older, or when you are doing long crochet sessions, like all-day crochet sessions, marathoning because it's a weekend and you've got nothing else to do but binge watch Bridgerton and crochet all day, these types of hooks tend to start cramping in your hand because they're very narrow, they're very thin, they're about the same thickness as a pencil, and so these are very uncomfortable, especially when you're somebody like me who's getting up in their 40s and starting to get a little bit of arthritis in their fingers. This style hook and handle just are not comfortable. I have a ton of these because I've been crocheting for so long, but I don't touch these anymore. And then you have hooks that look like this. Now this is a Clover brand hook. And Clover is one of the companies that makes ergonomic crochet hooks. This is also a tapered styled hook. And I'm going to go a little bit more into the difference between hook heads and tapered and inline in a few minutes. But this is a tapered style hook. It has a rubber grip, but essentially it's approximately this. The only reason why this one's a little bit shorter is because it is a smaller hook. This is a 3.5 millimeter, whereas this one is a 6 millimeter hook. But these are short, but it's got a rubberized grip, so it's a little bit more comfortable to use and hold for long sessions. And it depends on how you hold your hook. I still find this style hook to be a little bit uncomfortable for long crocheting sessions because I prefer to hold my hook like a knife, and as you can see, it winds up with the hook poking into my hand when I'm holding it. Same thing with this one. This end of this pokes into my hand. And then there are these hooks. These are an off-brand hook. I actually didn't intentionally buy these. These hooks came with what did this come with? I'm not quite sure what these came with. I just know that I ordered something for crochet. Oh, it came with my yarn minder that holds my yarn when I'm working with it. They sent a set of hooks with one of my yarn minders, and they came with this. But it's got a nice ergonomic handle to it, but it is a hard acrylic plastic. It's a very lightweight hook. It's not terrible. I run into, because of how I have my hook, it pokes into my hand. This is also a tapered style hook. So there's that style hook. And then we have the long corded hook that comes in a set that looks like somebody merged a knitting needle, a circular knitting needle, with a crochet hook. This is what's called a corded Tunisian crochet hook. This is for a special crochet technique called Tunisian. Tunisian crochet is kind of a hybrid between knitting and crochet, where you have forward passes and return passes, and you hold multiple stitches at a time on the very long hook with the cord so that you don't lose your stitches. So you work multiple loops at a time versus one or two loops at a time like you do in traditional crochet. And then this is a straight Tunisian crochet. This wants to keep running away from me. This is a straight Tunisian crochet hook. And it's also very long with a stopper on the end, designed to hold multiple stitches at a time. So you will not want to buy this type of crochet hook or this type of crochet hook unless you are trying to learn the specialty Tunisian crochet. And Tunisian is a very neat style crochet. It has a lot of unique applications, but it is what I would call for the more advanced crocheter or somebody who is already very familiar with knitting. They may find it easier to pick up Tunisian first before moving into traditional crochet. So I'm going to set my Tunisian hooks up off to the side, and I'm going to give you a rundown on the difference between an inline hook and a tapered crochet hook, which these three are tapered. And in the set of these, I have both tapered and inline hooks. Okay, and this particular type of hook, this is very similar. It's not the brand, but it's very similar to Furls. It's a fully aluminum with a very long shaft or neck of the hook. But if you look very closely, you can see that it has a very deep cut, and if I drew a straight line from here down, all of that straight would make a straight line across that gap of the hook, and that's what makes this an inline hook. And these, I'm going to go ahead and insert this into my handle so that you can see it easier. This is also an inline hook. It's a little pointier than that red one that I showed you, but as you can see, it's got a deep groove cut into the thing, and then it goes straight down. The only difference between this is, with it being a interchangeable set, the neck is very short. So I tend to only use these when I'm traveling, since it's got a short neck, and certain stitches don't play nice with short necks and shafts. And then put this back in here and set this off to the side. And then we have the most common type of crochet hook, the tapered crochet hook. And all three of these are tapered. Okay, you can see that it's tapered. And what makes it tapered is when you're looking at the front of the hook, you can see here's the shaft, and you can see it narrows down as it approaches the neck. So the neck of the hook gets skinnier. This part tends to be a lot more round, and it sticks out. And if I drew a line down, it's not in line with the rest of the shaft. Whereas with my inline hook, you can see that it is, you could fill that in and this would all be the same. This would all be the same size. Okay. And then this gets narrower where this one does not. It stays the same width all the way to the tip of the head. Now you may want to know or understand why somebody would prefer this style hook versus this style hook. It does come down to personal preference. For many years, I exclusively used the tapered hook. I learned how to crochet with the boy tapered hooks. It was what I was taught. It was what my mom was taught with. So that's what I learned how to do. Now, the drawback to a tapered hook tends to come in that the hook part itself is shallow. And what that can mean is that when you're working your stitches, if you're not careful, you actually can drop your loop a little bit easier with the tapered hook than the deep inline hook. Okay. So the deep inline hooks hold onto the yarn better. You're less likely to drop your loops when you're working them off of this hook. However, what can become a problem, and the one main drawback that I find with inline hooks are the fact that these tend to be a lot more pointy. Now, this is not as pointy as the set in my travel set. As you can see, this one has a very sharp tip. This one is a little bit more rounded, but it is still pointier than a tapered hook. And a sharp pointed tapered hook tends to do something called splitting the yarn. Most yarns are multiply strands of thread spun together, and so they can actually split if you're not careful, and the strand of yarn you're working with begins to come unwound as you work a project. So this type of hook will split the yarn a little bit more than this type of hook. I do find most beginners learn better and find it easier to work with a inline hook versus a tapered hook. But it just comes down to personal preference. So you can pick whatever type of hook you feel comfortable working with. So what you're going to want to do is find the hook that works best for you. Now, you may see that this hook right here, this has become my go-to favorite style hook to work with. It's got a nice long, when compared to other hooks, it's long. The shaft is really long. The handle is long. And because I knife grip, this hook is perfect. Now, if you're somebody who is more comfortable holding a hook like this, you're going to possibly find knife gripping handles that are bulbous might be a little bit more uncomfortable for you, because they really do tend to do better for people who hold like this. And how you hold your hook is what's most comfortable for you. And that is going to conclude our video today on different styles and types of hooks. And I hope you have a wonderful time and happy crocheting. Have a good evening.